The first Secret Santa gift that I received this year was a giant periodic table poster. I reacted with pure excitement and jumped up and down in glee, much to the amusement of my friends, then proceeded to bring it to my college essay meeting with Ms. Jackman to show it off. This scene, which I admit is not at all atypical for me, embodies two prominent aspects of my time at Commonwealth. One, I've had the opportunity to just be my nerdy, happy, energetic self. The second is my love for chemistry. I entered the Chemistry 1 Advanced course, much as I entered my other classes as a new sophomore at Commonwealth. With excitement and interest, especially because I've always loved math and science, but with very little idea of what the class would actually be like. I had had almost no experience with chemistry and didn't know how much I would like it. During my very first chem lab, to my horror, I broke a glass vial. I thought this might be a bad sign for my future as a chemist, but Ms. Jackman simply helped clean it up, and we continued the lab with hardly any fuss. In a very short time, chemistry became one of my favorite subjects. I immersed myself in heat transfer problems, puzzled over electron pushing mechanisms, and pushed through calculations until equations balanced. There was a time more recently that I lost track of the clock because I was having too much fun with the problem set on naming organic molecules. Then, there were the labs. Every week, we would do something new and exciting, like burning chemicals to see what color they turned, or running reactions where liquid chemicals were turned into solids, or performing titrations, which would cause a solution to turn pink over time. We always record sources of error during labs, and once my group's source of error was, Maria wanted to see if one more drop of sodium hydroxide would make the solution prettier. I loved chemistry so much that I continued right on to Chemistry 2 in my junior year, one of the most difficult courses I've ever taken. Despite the hard work, once I became accustomed to having marvelous chemical phenomena revealed to me on a weekly basis, there was no stopping me from continuing. When senior year finally rolled around, I simply had to take organic chemistry. Ms. Jackman didn't seem surprised to find me in her classroom in December, taking my senior photo on a chair in front of the periodic table. I love Ms. Jackman. Her enthusiasm for chemistry makes me excited to learn more, and she always explains new concepts so well that the very world around me starts to make sense. When I was younger, I would always wonder about seemingly commonplace things, like what walls are made of. Sure, they're made of wood, but what is wood? For that matter, what is water? And how many times can you split a portion of water in half? An infinite number? Chemistry answers these questions with the concept of the fundamental building blocks of all matter, atoms. Atoms form molecules, which in turn build the materials of everyday life. Chemistry explains why these atoms and molecules stick together, and why all these materials act as they do, like why glass shatters or sugar easily dissolves in water. Wood is made of a complex structure of atoms, mostly carbon. One molecule of water is made of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom bonded together, and there are approximately 8 times 10 to the 24th power such molecules in a cup of water. So you could theoretically split that number in half until you get down to 1 molecule. After that, you could keep going, but you wouldn't have water anymore. These are some of the basic teachings of chemistry, but it goes on to explain all manner of things, like how exactly ice cools down lemonade, or how to synthesize naturally occurring molecules in a laboratory setting, which is a huge problem that chemists attack in the industrial and medical world. This intellectual curiosity certainly extends to my other subjects: calculus, French, English, history, physics, computer science, and the arts. Like chemistry, every one of these subjects has encompassed some element of the unknown from the beginning. I have often begun a course without the faintest idea of what I'm in for, and even at the end of the year, I still find myself experimenting with where the subject can take me. When I took Computer Science 1, I had never used a computer for much more than typing essays and answering emails, but the next thing I knew, I was writing a complicated Huffman encoding program in Computers 3 to efficiently encode and decode written messages as zeros and ones. On the other side of the spectrum, I had never attempted close reading of literature before Commonwealth, but at the end of my junior year, I found myself writing an essay on the unreality of reality in The Great Gatsby, a topic that I had originally discarded because I thought it would be too difficult. It ended up being one of the most successful essays I've ever written. Just as entering the chemistry lab as a sophomore turned into 3 years of engrossing study on the subject, each academic path has led deeper into the intellectual world than I ever originally expected. I haven't pursued these paths alone. I've been able to share my interests with my friends and classmates along the way. Here, it's normal to be a nerd, acceptable and common to be what some people would see as slightly obsessed with academics. Outside of the classroom, our mutual interests give rise to lively interactions, such as having an in-depth discussion about exactly why some people see white and gold, whereas others see blue and black. Or getting elbowed in the stomach because I point out that we could represent our bodies leaning precariously against each other going up the stairs as force vectors. Or something far less intellectual, like having a tug-of-war fight with the plastic pipette. That did not have a happy ending for the pipette. In the midst of all this fun and laughter, though, I've built up my knowledge of the world and delved into as many subjects as possible. Not just for the academic record and transcript for college, although that can certainly be useful. Very often, I've been able to study a subject with my only justification being that of pure interest. I'm not necessarily going to use any organic chemistry in college. Over these 3 years at Commonwealth, I've been able to learn simply for the sake of learning.